Hi and welcome. This is the rollout. We're going to use a couple of fascia balls and maybe a block or two in this session. You're welcome to have your screen on. You can have your camera off or on, doesn't matter. And if you're doing this as a replay, just, have fun here. And so sometimes people ask, like, is this in the right place here or there? And if I carry my stress in the back of my shoulders, it might be a slightly different from where you carry your stress. So I want you to, as you're kind of like following along where I'm kind of asking you to roll the balls, just to be kind of open and curious about where it feels good. So my instruction at the end of the day is always going to be find where it feels good. You shouldn't be directly on bones, that's probably not going to feel good. um, and then, like, probably if you're deep in a joint, you don't want to be deep in a joint, but in the muscular area, in the connective tissue area, the fascia area. So, with that, let's take a few breaths together. So, we're going to start from the ground up. So, we'll be starting with the feet and then we'll kind of travel up stream of the body. So, first, let's grab a block and have a seat. And find a nice, comfortable position. You're welcome to move around, however, again, find what feels good, however it feels good. And then just start to just gently breathe in and out of the nose. Breathing in and up the spine, and breathing out and down the spine. Excellent. All right, again, breathing in and up the spine and down the spine. Take one more breath, breathing in and up, and breathing out and down the spine. Excellent. Now, slowly, gently come off of your block, grab your fascia balls, and we're going to start with the feet. This is one of the most popular areas to roll out. I feel like, we walk around a lot. And some of you might run or have some sort of sport or activity that you engage in, and this just really, after a nice long hike or a run, just really kind of resets your feet. So we're going to start with the ball panel of the foot. This goes from the big toe ball to the pinky toe ball. If you have your heel down on the floor, that gives you a little stability here so that you can just kind of freely roll. And then the whole time, we'll just be breathing in and out of the nose. If you feel any frantic energy, just breathe it out of your mouth and then return to your nostril breath. And there may be a few pauses throughout this where I'm not talking, just enjoy that moment. Let's roll to the pocket in front of the heel. Right in front of the heel bone, put a little downward pressure through your heel and shift the heel right and left. Now roll from the heel to the ball of the foot, all through the sole of the foot, all through there. Now the plantar fascia stretch. Place the toes up against the balls of your foot on the floor, the heel on the floor. And with your free foot, walk forward, heel up through the heel and the sole of the foot. Stretch through the foot and bring it back. Let's do that again. Get a nice stretch through the sole of the foot, through the plantar fascia that connects to the big toe, and relax. All right, let's switch feet. Roll through the ball panel of the foot. The pocket in front of the heel. Put a little downward pressure and shift the ball from side to side. Just notice if you're looking down at the floor. A lot of times I catch myself, and sometimes you looking at the floor. Just look straight ahead so you have nice aligned posture. Excellent. Now roll through the whole sole of the foot. And this is methodical today because I want to make sure we get all the parts of the foot. So when you're doing this on your own, you can be a little less organized with it if you want, but just so you know how to get to all the parts of the foot. And then here's the plantar fascia. Toes up against the ball. You want to make sure that big toe is right up against the ball. It's going to be mostly the first three toes. Walk forward with your free foot, peel it through the heel and the sole of the foot. Excellent. And then again, peel up here, heel, sole, and then relax. And one more. And release. Just feel the difference in your feet for a moment. Take a nice deep breath with the soles of the feet on the floor. Shift your weight into your heels. Relax your shoulder blades down your back. Excellent. All right, while we're standing, let's take a wide leg forward fold. So bend your knees so that your ribs kind of rest on your thighs here and your head hangs to the floor. Let's take a couple of deep breaths. Shift your weight into the heels. And allow your spine to lengthen. If you bring your shoulders back, pull your shoulders towards your knees. That takes a bit of pressure out of your neck. Take a bit of pressure out of the head, and then just let your head relax to the floor. And you're welcome to shift from side to side. On your next exhale, take your hands to your thighs and press up to standing. All right, now we're going to so throughout the session, we're going to be putting the balls back in the pouch, taking them out again, putting them back in again. This is a back in, back in the pocket. Cinch them up. And so this is, I like to use this for a little calf stretch. This stretches out the calf muscles. If you place the balls of the foot here on the set of fascia balls and the heel on the floor, you get to do less if you walk your free foot backward. You get more stretch if you walk your foot forward. So find the spot that feels the best for you right now. You don't have to, and I'm going to recommend that you don't go into 100% stretch because you're less likely to release in 100% stretch, but maybe about 75% is a good kind of little spot to be in. But again, it's up to you. Shift. Your body twists right and left, and you'll find maybe one side of your calf or one particular muscle in your calf may be a little tighter. So if that's the case for you, like I'm going to twist a little bit to the left a little bit more because that right there is a little tighter. So just find the spot for you. Again, we all carry our attention a little bit differently in our bodies. So find what feels good. And we have Cha-Cha here who's going to join us. She just loves to practice yoga with us. So here she is. And then switch to your second leg, second foot, second calf. We have several different muscles in the calf. We're about to get down on the floor and do like a direct roll on the calf. So you have kind of, we're going to talk about like kind of the sides of the calf a little bit. So as you're here, and you're finding, again, finding what feels good. If you're twisting, have your left foot on, you're twisting to the right, you may feel it toward the outside of your calf, like toward the left side of your calf. And that's generally like higher up is the gastrocnemius on both sides. But then a little bit lower down, um, you have this other muscle. Sometimes that gets really tight, especially for runners. So you may want to focus there just a little bit. The soleus is over there on that kind of outside piece. Whoop. And then gently release. All right, here's take one out. We're going to have a seat on the floor. So I challenge you to get there nice and smoothly as you sit down on the floor. We have one ball out. We're going to need a block for this one. So again, I mentioned the little outside kind of line of the calf. We're going to go for that one first. And then as you're rolling through the calf, just again, kind of find where you're the tightest. So along this little outside line, it's usually pretty tight. You can go all the way down to the ankle. Couple of methods for this. One, you can sit with your bum flat on the floor and just kind of bounce. Find the area and kind of bounce, and it'll roll the ball a little bit. I really like this, especially for one little targeted area. And then there's also the press down and pick your seat up and roll through. And then if you're finding your own technique over there, and it's not one I mentioned, I'd love to hear about it. Everybody finds their own way here. Let's take a couple of deep breaths as you're here. I like to do a little combo plate of each, and then make sure you're getting down a little bit toward the ankle, because sometimes there's some tightness there that you may not detect before you hit it. We're going to take one more breath on this calf, and then we're going to go to the inside part of the gastrocnemius. So easiest way I've found is take your block over to the side, still here on the same leg, my left leg. And then I'm going to place my leg right on top. And I'm going to roll through the inside. Just keep breathing. Now, there is a deep calf muscle called popliteus. It's fairly small. It's a little bit more, it leans toward the outside, but how you get to it, let's take one more breath and then come out. How you get to it is you place the ball kind of in the pit of the knee, but not really. So where I'm going to put it is I'm going to, like if this is the knee pit right here, I'm going to go down a couple of inches and then place it. And then I'm going to pick my foot to the floor and kind of squeeze in. So I'm folded in and the ball is right here, not way in the pit of the knee, but down a little further. And the more you squeeze in, the more pressure you're going to get there, right? And then you're welcome to go right and left. And don't forget to breathe. Now I started to notice that my neck was tensing up because my shoulders weren't comfortable. So if you're here and you find another part of your body tensing up, the whole idea here is we're releasing and resetting. So try to be present with your whole body and don't sacrifice one for the other. Make yourself comfortable all the way around. All right, that's a quick one. We'll come out of that one. And then this is no ball. We're just going to use our hands for this one. So in your calf, if you take your, you could either take your thumbs or you could take your whole, like kind of the heel part of the palm and squeeze these two muscles together and squeeze all the way down your calf until you don't really feel any more of that. Squeeze them together, push, push. So those insides of the muscles, kind of where they meet, will push together and it'll get like this massage from the inside, the kind of like the crease area where the gastric meets. If gastric is kind of like two pieces of muscle where they meet, the center seam, so to speak. All right. And then gently switch to your other side, starting with soleus, the soleus side of the calf, right there on the outside. Yeah, I know. Just breathe nice and deep. Each exhale is an opportunity to let go of tension and stress in your body. So, again, if it feels a little kind of fiery or a little frantic, you can and then breathe in and out through your nose. And sometimes, when we're doing releases, that happens. We always like all different parts of your body are related to different emotions. And so sometimes, like, there's some stuck emotions in your connective tissue. Um, it's like, well, how does that work? Well, if we're not able to express our emotions, they go somewhere. They go somewhere and we learn to store them. When I was doing research about osteoarthritis, I was learning how the emotions of anger and resentment are some of the emotions. Also, patience, right? Patience is also another one. All of those are stored in the hips. If they don't get expressed, they go somewhere in the body, and one of their main areas to reside is in the hips. And as I was thinking about it, I was like, oh, so this is not necessarily genetic, but it's inherited because my mom told me that I wasn't allowed to be angry, which meant that she thought that she wasn't allowed to be angry. And I learned a lot of body cues from her on how to just put that in the hips, put it right there in that little hip pocket for later. Um, and then, eventually it turns into something. In my case, uh, some osteoarthritis. Fortunately, you don't have to have a hip replacement for that. You don't have to have surgery for that if you uh, catch it before the buzzer, right? Couple of deep breaths. So when you're feeling things that are being released here, that's like a little gift. It's like, okay, I don't have to carry that in my body anymore. Just allow it. whatever it feels like. And of course, you're in the privacy of your own home. So if it looks like laughter or tears or like a big lion yell, you know what? I think go for it. All right, we're going to the the inside part of the gastrocnemius here. So facing your thigh forward, rolling through that gastrocnemius. Again, this, if you're angled just right, you may feel it kind of on the inside seam that I was talking about, where the two pieces of gastrocnemius come together. Breathing in, breathing out. You also might notice that one side is tighter than the other. It may surprise you which side is tighter than the other. Just go with it, be with it. Just notice, okay, I carry some tension right there. Not a problem. Take a breath and let it go. Slowly, gently come out. We're going for popliteus. Isn't that a fun one to say? Right? Not quite in the knee pit, further down than the knee pit, but right there. Give it a nice squeeze as you pull your hips in. And you might have to maneuver this one a little bit more because it's a deep muscle. You have to kind of get past some of that gastrocnemius. That gastric is thick. So that's why we go a little further down also, because you can kind of really get in there. And you're welcome to move right and left if that makes sense for you. Gently release, and we're going to go to this little press. You can use the heels of your hands. Again, you can use your thumbs, um, whatever you choose. I'm going to use the heels of my hands, pushing the two sides of gastric together. And I'm just inching down the length of my calf. If you have someone sitting next to you and you do this for each other, it actually feels better than if you're doing it for yourself. You can get a lot more in there if you're allowing someone else to do this. Ooh, right. And then gently come out. Now we're going to look for this next little area. So I want you to find your shin bone. And then right on the outside of it, as you push in, you can find this line of fascial tissue. All right, this is all ankles and foot right here. This is all a lot of your ankles and foot. And so there are two ways to come into this. And, there are a few people like for most people, what you're going to do is get onto your hands and knees and you're going to roll down the shin, up and down the shin. Along that bone, along the outside line of that bone, there's some magical tissue there. Now, if you start to feel there's a lot of muscle up here toward the knee. So sometimes what I like to do is kind of pump my foot or roll the ankle, and that will release some of that connective tissue. Right? This is all from like walking, standing, how you hold your feet. This is so ingrained that people who do fascial releases like rolfing can tell how you were holding your feet in the womb, which is nuts. That it's so that it's that ingrained, that built into your system still, even on people who are older and wiser. Now, here's what you do if that's not working. So, for a few people, that won't be the one. That won't be the way that they can get into it. And for you who that's working for, just stay there and keep rolling along that line. But for those who you're like, I don't know, nothing's happening, you can come into it like this. And so it may just be like a rotational thing, kind of how your lower leg and your knee interact with each other. Could be, any number of things. But this is the other way to get to that area. So however you're going, we're going to take one more breath. We're also rolling through some acupuncture meridians. So if you feel like lines of energy either being released or maybe just gently, kind of tremoring, don't worry about that. That's okay. It's okay to feel that. Good. And gently release. All right. Take a nice deep breath. Okay. And then we're going to go to the other side. Either coming from the top or coming from the side. Up to you. Stay with your breath here. If you want to, you can place your knee on the floor to give yourself a little stability and roll through your ankle. Flex and point. Find what feels good here. Sometimes I also like to move a little bit to the right and to the left. On this side in particular, all right, last breath. And come out of that. All right, and what this opens up, if we sat back on our heels in Virasana, you'd feel that this is kind of loosened up a little bit. You can sit back a little bit more. There's a little more space here. I want you to take your heels as you're sitting back into Virasana. Take your heels together, and they're going to part a little bit when you sit back on your heels. But see if you can kind of pull your heels in toward each other. And this will give you also a stretch down those tibial lines. Oof. Right, these are your tibials in the front of your shins, like to the side of your shins. and they'll let go. If you're gentle with them and nice to them and you ask them to release, they will. But that's it. That's it. Kind of, enticing things to release is like, not being mean to your body also. It's like being nice and easy. So if any of these are like really intense, please don't feel like you have to go to the full intensity on these, right? We just want to make sure that you feel nice and relaxed. If it's giving you more stress to do this, then that one's either not for you or let up a little bit. Let up a little bit. You don't have to put so much pressure into it. Okay, so look, putting them back in the pouch, and we're going to roll through the like kind of the front of the leg. And where we're going to start is in the inguinal crease. So you have this hip flexor here in the front that gets tight for a lot of people. There's iliacus in here. So as you're starting, the balls are going to look like this if you're looking at me from the floor. This is about where they'll be, and you're going to move around so that they'll get just in the right spot. And then from there, we're going to do this army crawl thing. So the balls will roll down towards your knee, or actually what you'll be doing is scooching up, and the balls are actually going to be, you'll scooch up and the balls will roll down your leg. So here we go. First side is, I'm going to go with my left side since my left side is toward you. And I'm going to come forward with this right knee and lengthen this hip onto those balls. Now I'm going to roll forward and back a little bit so I can kind of situate the right spot for me. And then I'm going to roll a little bit to the right and to the left. So again, I can combine. Ooh, there's iliacus, right? That's one of the tighter ones that you may feel. And then so you can find just the right spot for yourself. And it may be different than mine. So just be open to finding what feels good. Breathe in and out of the nose. You can hold or you can wiggle, like a little movement here or there. It doesn't matter. I just want you to kind of feel that. And then we're going to slowly roll. We're going to roll. We're going to go knee, elbow, elbow, roll, good. Knee, elbow, elbow, and then roll. I know. At some point, she feels like I'm taking her over her territory a little bit, which is fine. She'll be all right. Now, through your quads, you might find one area that's a little tighter than the others. I highly recommend if you find one of those magic spots for yourself to just hang out there or maybe roll it a few times. But any muscle in your body is interesting. As if you kind of listen to and watch different kind of like informed massage therapists, they'll hold the tension for like 30 seconds. And when they hold the pressure in a tension area, right? So let's say there's like kind of a muscular, what we call as a knot. Um, it's the fascia is really tight in that one area. And if you hold pressure for 20 to 30 seconds, it will start to melt. Now, will it melt entirely the first round? Maybe, but it's how muscles or the tension in muscles release. And actually, most of the tension is in the fascia, not the muscle fibers themselves. All right, last breath here on this side. And then take your elbows and push yourself back. We're going to do the same thing to the other side. So we're starting over here in the inguinal crease in the hip flexors. These are some of your hip flexors. Now, for your neck, if you have a particularly tight neck, we're getting to the neck last. And the reason why we're kind of going from the ground up is because, you know, you kind of hold your neck in a position. So if you feel a lot of tightness in your neck on this one, which some of this may be, you can just drop your head to the floor like a rag doll. And that should release some of the tension there. Roll up and down, side to side. Find this initial starting off point. Breathing through your nose, in and out through your nose. And then slowly start to roll down the length of the leg. This is the army crawl. Elbow, elbow, knee. And go nice and slow, nice and easy. Again, if there's like some kind of like, oh, this is just really too much because my quads are so tight, feel free to push down through your knee into the mat and allow yourself some spaciousness there. Is really what we're doing with all of this is we're creating space in the body. And in your connective tissue and your fascia, there's a lot of stored potential energy, which is really kind of cool because it's the scientific word for it is it's piezoelectric, or some people say piezoelectric, but um, so piezoelectric tissue is like some of the potential energy gets caught in this. It's kind of like a matrix, like a spider web, but more like a spider matrix, right? And so, um, again, like tension, stress, um, is potential energy. And so it gets stored in there. And when you release it, it's not like, okay, now I suddenly feel like a superhero, I have all this energy. But it'll be like a slow, steady energy throughout your body as you release all of that. So we're going to take one more breath on this side. Imagine we walk around and we have basically this bowl of energy, more like a matrix of energy that we're not able to use because it's there, it's tension and it's caught in our fascia. So this is one way to release some of it. All right, now push back, push back, push back. And then breathe and come into Virasana, hero's pose, sitting back on your heels. Place your hands behind you. If that's too much, you can always use blocks under your um, hands if it's too much to push down into the floor. But the more you're able to kind of lift your hip bones to the ceiling and keep your feet close together and your heels close together. And get a nice little stretch down those quads now. Take a nice deep breath. Good. And then push yourself out of this. And we're going to go to the hamstrings up way near the tendon. So hamstring tendons are right, they connect into your hip. So we're going to find a nice spot close to the hip that you're going to have to fish around a little bit, probably. You'll have to kind of like move this way or that. And you can just really kind of get into way up there. So I'm finding this little spot right now. From here, I'm going to externally and internally rotate my thigh. And I'm going to pulse a little bit right here because that's where I'm feeling it. So find where you're feeling things. Find what feels good here. We're going to do just a little bit of this on each side. Breathe in, breathe out. And then switch to the other side. Again, way up here in the thigh. Way up, way up. All right. Sitting up tall, finding your spot. You might have to move the balls over to one side or to the other. Find your magic spot. And then wave the thigh. Last breath. And we'll gently release out of this. The next one, so we're going to do lying down, but kind of between each little piece where we move the balls, I'm going to sit up and I'm going to show you where they go. Like if you're lying on your back and you had a glass table and you were looking up at me, you could kind of see where the balls go. So these come out of the pocket now. Here's where they go. This is the lumbar area. Here's my belly button. If I trace my belly button around the back, I'm going to put them in these areas, not real close to the spine, but out here a little bit, right? So lie down first and then place each ball here and a ball there. Now, this is the first time you're ever doing this. This could be intense. If it's intense, I highly recommend like just arcing your back a little bit and not putting so much of that thinking pressure down on the balls because that's what makes it really intense, right? Is how much pressure. Now, if you do want more pressure, take your knees side to side and make sure you breathe. Now, after a few breaths, if it has been intense for you and you're not ready for the windshield wiper knees, you may hold for a few breaths or work for a few breaths and then it might feel like, oh, okay, now I want those knees side to side. So right now we're just in the low back muscles. If you're getting a little deeper, you might be getting into quadratus lumborum, but it's also likely you're kind of in the very bottom piece of the lats. Breathe in and out of your nose. Last breath. And then we're going to pull these out from either side of your back. We're going to move them up to between the shoulder blades. Here's what that looks like. I'm going to roll to my side and sit up to show you. Now, this, I can't put both of them at the same time. So my arms aren't long enough. But you've got one, it's between the shoulder blade and the spine, and the other one between the shoulder blade and the spine. Now, people always ask, is it up toward the top of the shoulder blade or the bottom of the shoulder blade? I want you to decide. So lie down first, or maybe you're still lying down, and place them. And then start to roll a little bit up and down and start to move your arms around. And you'll know immediately, like, if I roll down, oh, I'm getting this little area. Or if I'm rolling up, I'm getting this other little area. But again, if you're new to this, or for whatever reason, you're feeling a lot of intensity, just push your head down into the mat and arc your back up a little bit so there's less intensity because this can be intense. And if you want more, take your big, big swooping motions, kind of like an orchestra conductor, and move your elbows more than anything else, moving the elbows around. And you can find big circular motions or side to side, kind of in and out motions. You can go with the theory of signing your name in big cursive letters and finding little or big movements that feel really good. Sometimes I like this up and down motion. Like today, I'm really liking that for some reason. Whatever I did yesterday translates into this motion here in the shoulder blade area. Take some breaths. Another way to do this area of the body too is standing against a wall and then pushing the block, or I'm sorry, the balls, or one ball at a time. So you would do one shoulder and then the other shoulder, and kind of pushing into the wall and moving around. Breathe in and out of your nose. And then what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to roll my body down. So the balls roll up toward the head a little bit. Now I'm in trapezius, like not the bottom part of trapezius, but kind of like the mid to upper trapezius. And I'm going to start to move around a little bit. So I'm wiggling my body and moving around a little bit with my elbows again. And breathing deep. Now, the more you do this, if you're feeling a lot of intensity today, like you're not done a lot of this and it's intense, if you repeat this, next time it'll be probably a little less intense. It's like the first time you go for a massage, they kind of get into that first layer, and then the next time, the next layer, and so on and so forth. Last breath, we're going to pull these out from under the shoulders. Take a nice deep breath and then roll to your side and come up to seated. So here's another way to roll up the back. So we put these in. I told you it'd be in and out. You're going to learn to do this real smoothly, right? So you put these back in and cinch them up tight. Now we're going to lie down again. Now, if you have on, so one of the things is like, I like a tight shirt for yoga because it doesn't fly over my head. Also, in this, you can really kind of roll through. But if you have this like loose shirt on, the balls are going to get all tangled up in your shirt. So you're going to have to kind of take them with your hand and move them up the back if you've got on a loose type of shirt. So lie down on the floor and we're going to take them to the low back. All right, again, you're going to get into these muscles that are a little closer to the bone. So you'll be in a little bit of multifidus here. And so it might feel a little different than what you just felt at that lumbar area. So again, you're kind of like if you have your fingers in your belly button and you trace around, your fingers are going to run into the balls, but your hips should be fully on the floor. Like you're not lifting your hips up here. Breathe. Again, it's the same kind of motion. You can take your knees side to side to side. It might be a smaller motion, might be a bigger motion. Doesn't matter. Just be with what feels good. Again, you can arc your back up if it feels like, that's a little too much intensity for me today. Also, you don't have to stay as long as I'm staying here. And a word to you guys. So if you're like, I'm going to do this on my own, and you spend more than 3 minutes in one little direct area, it's probably like max it out at 3 minutes in this one little area, right? And then move them to another area. You can do 3 minutes, but more than that, you can end up with bruises if you go too long. So just want you guys to be safe and sound as you're doing this. And then start to roll. So I'm going to roll my body down the mat and find a little area here. and breathe. So now I'm kind of like at the bottom of the rib cage, right? Bottom of the ribs. And then I'm going to roll again. And each time I'm swaying side to side with my knees because that feels good. You don't have to. I'm going again. Right now I'm at like the bra strap ish area. Again, getting up into those shoulder blades feels a little different this time, being a little closer to the spine. So I'm going to keep going up in the shoulder blades. And I'm going to go up one more time in the shoulder blades. And now I'm so far up, I'm almost at the neck. And then I'm going to roll down a little bit and pull these out from underneath. And then just let my body relax onto the floor for a couple of breaths. Excellent. Roll to your side, push up to seated. All right. Both of them come out. And they're going to go back in one more time. All right, before we move on to the neck, we're going to get through the forearms. Okay. So we're going to kind of roll between, you've got two bones, the ulna and the radius. And go right between those. I like to start at the wrist and move down toward the elbow. And I do this a little bit incrementally because to get down the whole thing, the ball might fall off the edge. So I'm going to back it up, rolling through, deep breaths. Again, it's just like we did in the shins where these muscles control your fingers. So as you're kind of moving your hand around a little bit, you might find the muscles tense up in little different ways here. One more breath. And if you type a lot, really great. Really find a lot of relief here. Nice, switching sides. Deep breath. We've got about 5 more minutes to go. So this will round out to exactly an hour. Which is a little longer than these usually go, but since we're doing something so relaxing, you're enjoying yourself right now. Let's take one more breath here. All right, these are out of the bag. We're going to put them in this little area, okay, right where like the top of your shoulder meets your neck on each side. The block will be medium height, so 6 inches high. Lying down, bridging the hips up. I'm going to support my sacrum with the blocks. If you feel unsteady, move to a spot where you feel steady. Pelvis is supported here. And then place each one right here, right here, and right here. Ah. Take your arms on the floor above your head. Now you may want to stay here and just let this melt out. Or you may want to shrug one shoulder up and the other shoulder, or like do some shoulder rolls, rolling the shoulders. Either way you do it, just make sure it feels good. That's it. Those are your instructions today. And breathe. We carry a lot of tension here, a lot of stress here. Usually people have some stress here. This is like shoulders up toward the ears territory. This is like the metaphorical and the literal pain in the neck right here, right? Like sometimes, whenever we think about it, we think about that pain in the neck, like that. That's so literal sometimes, those phrases. So this is where you want to kind of clear out and reset. And then for a moment, just remember that we can't control things that are outside of us. Right now, you can control your breath and how you're letting go of tension. Go ahead and release here. Pull the balls from the sides of the neck. Pull the block out from under the hips. Take your bridge down to the floor. Take a breath. And we're going to put these back in the bag. So if you can get there, without rolling to your side and pushing up to seated, do that. But if you need to, roll to your side and push up to seated so that your neck doesn't bear the brunt of sitting up. Also, your back. Anytime you get off the floor, roll to your side, push up to seated. It's just so much better for like pretty much all areas of your body, your back, your hips, your neck, and your shoulders. We're going to cinch this up. All right. And we're keep your block handy. So we're going to put it under your head. All right. And then the balls go in the bag under your neck. So block, set of balls, neck. Now, few things here. Again, your basic instruction, find what feels good. But here are a couple of suggestions. Look to the right and to the left and get into the side, the scaling muscles of the neck. I even sometimes kind of pick my head up a little bit and I slide over so I can get into those side muscles, like, oh, right there. And then if you're kind of centered here, you're going to feel your suboccipital notches on the right and the left there at the bottom of the skull. So when you get up onto one of those notches, usually one at a time gives you a little bit more. Okay, but again, you're feeling for what intensity makes sense for you today. You can do your head like yes, you can shake your head no, you can do a little circle. One of those might feel amazing. So find what feels good. And I'm going to recommend that you try all of them. For me, like all of them make sense pretty much. But today in particular, the circles are feeling really good on those occipital notches for whatever reason. And then you do this today and then tomorrow you're like, oh no, I really like the yes motion or the no motion. So just play here a little bit. If you're not on the bones or the joints, you want to be right on those muscles and not real I mean, you'll be on the bones a little bit, but there's like muscle panel there on top of the bone where you're feeling that little patch of muscle on each side there. Now, this can be a little headachy, so it can help you relieve headaches. Can't tell you how many headaches have been relieved with this. Pretty amazing. So before you pop the Tylenol, you might be able to do this without medication. And then you might still need the Tylenol, but this could either reduce it or make it go away completely. We're going to take one more breath here. And if you're just having so much relief here, you're welcome to stay for another minute or two. But just make sure you don't stay too long. We want all those muscles to be functional and not too raw after you're done. And then my suggestion is to end this practice with a nice little legs up the wall for like, 3 to 5 minutes. Legs up the wall goes like hips right up to the side, come to the elbows, and then just put the legs right up there. Boom, boom. Oh, and breathe. As always, it is a pleasure practicing with all of you, whether you're live, whether you're playing this as a recording, but I hope that you just feel really good and restored for the rest of your day and for the rest of your week. So I'll see you guys again soon. And in the meantime, take really good care.